Welcome back. In today's history class, we'll continue with the second chapter, Factors Leading to the Growth of Nationalism and Foundation of the National Congress. So, at the previous class, we learnt about what is nationalism, then we learnt about economic exploitation, along with the socio-religious movements of Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Jyotiba Phule. Today, we are going to study about the repressive colonial policies. Repressive colonial policies of the Britishers. How they used to pressurize the Indian people and repress them and suppress them. The Englishmen were proud of their race and treated Indians only with contempt. Contempt means disregard, disrespect. There were exclusive clubs and railway coaches for Europeans where the entry of Indian was forbidden. Obviously, I think you know that there were certain clubs and restaurants and hotels where in front of the clubs and restaurants and hotels it was written that Indians and dogs are not allowed. So it is a very, 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 very disrespectful statement. So anyway, at the district headquarters, there were exclusive residential areas. Residential areas means area where people stay. Residents are there. Popularly known as civil lines, where only Europeans could live. Indians were not allowed. Exclusive area. Lord Lytton was the Viceroy of India from 1876 to 1860. His repressive policy and deeds intensified discontentment in the country. Intensified means increased to an extreme level. Discontentment means dissatisfaction. So what were the repressive policy? Policy number 1. Age limit of civil service examination. In 1877, the maximum age limit of civil service examination was reduced from 21 to 19. Now, why was it bad? Because Indians were unable to appear at the age of 19, a civil service examination where all the Europeans, the Britishers are appearing. So it was not really possible for Indians to appear at that civil service examination at the age of 18. Had it been 21 years, chances were that Indians could pass that examination. So this was a calculated move, from the Britishers to ruin the prospects of Indian candidates for the civil service examination. It was a totally calculated move. They did not want the Indians to pass the examination. Simple as that. Now, number 2, the Imperial Durbar. The Imperial Durbar in Delhi in 1877 added insult to to injury, for it was held at a time where millions of South Indians were affected with terrible famine. So Imperial Durbar, royal Durbar was held, where at that moment where the South Indians were reeling through and passing through a terrible famine. So it was not taken at a good spirit by the Indians. The press regulations, this is terrible. The freedom of press was to a great deal, it was taken away. The government tried to silence opposition by enacting Vernacular Press Act and the Arms Act. So what did the Vernacular Press Act do? The Vernacular Press Act crushed the freedom. Crushed means completely destroyed the freedom of vernacular papers, means local language papers. Vernacular language means local language. Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Gujarati, Bengali, Hindi. Hindi is not really a vernacular language, but still. The act required the editors to publish nothing that would excite dissatisfaction against the government. Many editors who opposed the act were sentenced to jail. So what happened was, if any editors of those vernacular language papers dared or showed the daring attitude to write something against the Britishers, they were put behind the bars. They were simply put behind the bars. They were jailed. So it was not possible for all the editors to go really against the Britishers. And what was the Indian Arms Act? Indian Arms Act made it criminal offence. According to the act, it will be a criminal offence for Indians to keep or bear arms, have arms or keep it at their home without license. But the Britishers did not need any license, you know that. The Britishers could keep. It was only for the Indians. Discriminatory action. Now, very, very important is Ilbert Bill controversy. What is Ilbert Bill controversy? Lord Ripon was succeeded by Lord Lytton. Tried to reduce some of the grievances of the Indian, but his attempts were marred by the Ilbert Bill controversy. So what was in the Ilbert Bill controversy? At that time, no European could be tried for a criminal offence except by an European judge or magistrate. At that time, what happened was, if any European person was tried in a court means where taken to court for justice, the European person's justice will be done, or his justice will be given, or his judgment, not justice will be given, yes, justice will be given and judgment will be given by a European person. No Indian judge can try out a European person. So, at that time, no European could be tried for a criminal offence except by an European judge or magistrate. Lord Ripon tried to do away with this absurdity. Lord Ripon said, no, how? If a person is tried in a court, that means the person has done something, although he will not be guilty until proven. Any judge, whether he is an Indian judge or a European judge, can give the justice. But according to the bill was introduced in 1883 by Lord Ilbert, the law member of the Governor-General's executive body, the Anglo-Indian community carried a wild agitation against the measure. The Anglo-Indians did not want it, because if a European judge tries a European criminal or an European for some offence, obviously there will be some partiality. A European judge will never go against a European criminal. So obviously when Lord Ripon tried to do away with this absurdity, there was an agitation. So the government ultimately withdrew the bill. As a result, the Indian district magistrate and judges were empowered to try Indian offenders on one conditions, that the accused were to have the benefit of trial by jury. Okay. Now, half the members of the jury were to be Europeans or Americans. So this was the controversy. So this was Ilbert Bill controversy. So now comes, after this, precursors or forerunners of the Indian National Congress. Forerunners means who came before. Before the Indian National Congress was formed, which other associations were formed? first was the East India Association. Dadabhai Naoroji founded in London the East India Association. Names and the founders, the names of the associations and who founded it, very important. What did it aim? It aimed at providing members of the British Parliament information regarding India's genuine grievances. What exactly was happening in India were to be reported to the British Parliament, and by whom? By the East India Association. Okay, this association attracted a large number of Englishmen who sympathized with India's distress. It recommended, what recommended? The East India Company recommended the abolition of cotton duties and gave a petition to the government to withdraw the Vernacular Press Act. The association became popular and soon had branches in Mumbai, Calcutta, and Madras. Now comes Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Pune Sarvajanik Sabha was under the leadership of Justice Ranade. Its leaders asked people to take khadi and not to send a penny out of the country. Now comes the the Indian Association. One is East India Association, founded by Dadabhai Naoroji. Another is the Indian Association by Surendranath Banerjee. In 1876 came up in Kolkata the Indian Association founded by Surendranath Banerjee. And what were the objects? Number one, to unite the Indians upon the basis of common political interests and beliefs. Number two, to promote brotherly feelings among Hindus and Muslims. Number three, to agitate means to protest for constitutional government. The association launched agitation against the Arms Act and the Vernacular Press Act. Okay. Now, also remember, there was a daily newspaper edited by Surendranath Banerjee. The name of the newspaper was The Bengali, Bengalle. Now, I have mentioned the names of three associations: the East India Association, the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, and the Indian Association. These associations were mainly localized, localized in character. There had been an urge for an all India organization. They are trying to bring up an all India association or an organization. Surendranath Banerjee took the initiative and convened the Indian National Conference, which met in Kolkata in 1883. The Indian National Conference attracted leaders from all parts of India. Anand Mohan, who presided, described the conference as the first step to national parliament. It was a stepping stone just before Indian National Congress was formed. For the first time, some conference was being formed which was pan-India. I mean, it is taking the whole Indian into context. If you remember, the revolt of 1857 failed because there was no unity. In certain pockets of India, the revolt was there. So this is for the first time. Later also, these associations were formed, like the East India Association or the Indian Association. They were also localized in nature. So, for the first time, Indian National Conference was there, which was national, pan-India or nationalized in character. The conference was the forerunner. Forerunner means just before the formation of Congress, Indian National Congress. Remember, it was formed in 1885. It was merged with Indian National Congress in 1886. Okay. The conference of the forerunner of Indian National Congress founded in 1885. It was merged with Indian National Congress in 1886. So, this is for today. In the next class, we will learn about the formation of the Indian National Congress, the immediate objectives, and the second and third session of it. Okay, thank you very much.